Well, good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. It has been a long time since I have been on here live, but welcome. I'm excited to have some people join me tonight, and tonight we are going to do some deep research using AI, and I'm also going to show you guys how to create a custom GPT. So I mentioned on Facebook maybe like a week or so ago, a few days ago, that my new favorite thing is asking AI like how to use AI. So I ask it to give me a prompt to do my deep research. So that's what I want to show you guys how to do tonight. So I posed a question on Facebook to get like a topic, just because everybody uses AI in a unique way. So like when I use ChatGPT, I'm going in for specific things, and I wanted to make sure that whatever I do the research on is something relevant to how you guys would use it. So I figured I would take an audience topic or suggestion. So I got a suggestion from my friend Yolanda, and she wants to know what the environmental impact of data centers, specifically to communities overburdened with pollution. So that's what we are going to do our deep research on, and I want to show you how to do that. So, as you come in, please say hello. Drop me a comment down in the chat so I can acknowledge you and say hello. And so, let me share my screen and we can get into how this works. Okay, so this is our topic here. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to go over into ChatGPT, and I'm going to start a new chat. So I have the paid version of ChatGPT. It's $20 a month. It's the plus plan. And that being said, I am not sure if you have access to deep research on the free version of ChatGPT. If you do, it's probably very limited. But I will say I'm a proponent. You guys know, when you guys come here, you know that I'm a proponent of AI. I do think that it's valuable. Hey, Eric. Hey, cuz. I do think that it's valuable to have the $20 subscription to ChatGPT. So, I, yeah, so this is how you can do the deep research. So I'm just going to pop her question in here. Oops. Okay. So I'm just starting with a regular chat. I actually disabled my custom instructions because I've been using ChatGPT since November of 2022. So it has a long history of me and, my habits and things like that. The questions, I ask it, and I gave it some specific custom instructions. So I turned that off because I don't want that to influence the response that we get. So I'm going to turn on deep research. So if you click tools here, if you click this button here down in the field where you type your questions, we're going to do run deep research. So we turn the research button on, so it'll show you this here. And I think it gives you 30 deep researches per month. It used to tell me how many researches I had left until the end of the month, but I know that I still have some. So when you get ready to ask your question, it doesn't have to be like anything super eloquent. So I'm going to say, I need to do some deep research using AI, and I want you to give me a prompt for this this topic. So the topic is the environmental impact of data centers, specifically to communities overburdened with pollution. So I'm going to say act as a environmental justice researcher and subject matter expert. Let me see what else I want to say in terms of deep research. I want to know the top urban and rural areas impacted. And I want to know how to advocate. All right, so let's see what this gets us. So after you put in, and you see like how I put this in, I mean, it's coherent sentences, but it's nothing like super fancy. So when you give it like your questions, like your prompt, like what you're looking for, it's going to ask you some clarifying questions. And my observation is that it typically gives you like 4 or 5 questions. So let's see what questions it's asking me. Thanks for the clear direction. Just a few quick questions so I can tailor the research accurately. Are you interested in data centers in the US or globally? So usually what I do is I just put 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to say US. Number 2, do you want this to focus specifically on new data centers being proposed or built? I want both. Should advocacy strategies target policy change, corporate accountability, community organizing, or all of the above? All of the above. And 4, is there a particular time frame you like the research to focus on? Developments from the last 5 years. I'm going to say last 2 years. And let's see what this prompt gives us. Actually, this isn't what I wanted to do. So it's starting to do the deep research already. So where's our power? This is, oh, I have 14 more. All right. Okay, so it's giving me problems. I think I know what I did wrong. So actually, I don't want it to run deep research yet. I want it to just give me the prompt. Okay, so here we go. This is what I was looking for. So here's the prompt that it gave me. You are an environmental justice researcher specializing in the intersection of technology, infrastructure, and marginalized communities. Please conduct a comprehensive analysis on the environmental impact of data centers in the U.S., focusing on urban and rural areas already overburdened with pollution. Focus on existing and newly built data centers for the past 2 years. Identify the top urban and rural communities most affected. Include data on air and water pollution, energy consumption, and health indicators. Highlight environmental justice concerns, especially how these communities may already suffer from systemic disinvestment and racial ethnic disparities. Cite specific case studies or community-led efforts. Provide actionable advocacy strategies for local state policy reform, corporate accountability, community organizing. And I also wanted to give me, I wanted to cite specific sources. So what I'm going to do is gather this prompt, just copy it, and I am going to open up a new chat in ChatGPT. And this is where we're going to turn on our deep research. So when you're trying to get the prompt, you don't need to turn on deep research yet. You only turn on deep research when you already have your prompt. So I also want to ask this to cite the sources. So I'll add this to the bottom. So I'm gonna ask it to please cite sources used in your final report. So I'm gonna copy this to save. And then, so now with the deep research engaged, we're just gonna hit go. So it's actually gonna ask me these questions again. Should the report focus on specific states or include data centers across the entire US? I am going to say focus on the US. 2, are you interested in large-scale, hyperscale data centers only or small co-location? I'm going to say all data centers because I don't understand that question. Should the report include geospatial or map analysis if such data is available? Sure. I'll say yes. I don't know why it's asking me that, but whatever. Okay. So, now that it's ready, I'm going to hit return and it's going to go off and start doing research. So it tells me it's going to conduct a comprehensive analysis on the environmental impact. I'll include case studies, community resistance efforts, blah, blah, blah. And it has started doing research, and it'll give you, it'll show you kind of like how it's progressing. This takes several minutes. So I'm going to go spin up Manus. I'm going to put the same prompt in Manus. And I'm also going to put the same prompt in Google Gemini. So this is Manus. So Manus is another AI tool similar to ChatGPT. I found that it does very well with deep research. So I just kind of want to show you guys like a comparison of the outputs that you get and like the process that it goes to. So I'm going to kind of be flipping through these tabs to show you how this works. So I'm just going to pop this same prompt into Manus. Manus gives you 3,000 characters to put your prompt in for whatever you want to research. And I only have a free account with Manus, so I'm only able to do like standard research, but their standard does do deep research. So I'm just going to hit send here, and it's going to give me some questions as well to kind of like refine. Or maybe not. It might be good to go because it's already starting to think. So it's actually not going to ask me any questions to refine. Sometimes it does give you, oh yeah, it did. Okay, so it is giving me some questions to help refine the prompt before it goes to start searching. Would you like me to focus on any particular regions in the US? I'm just going to say all US. Any specific tech companies? I'm going to say all. Do you have preferences for the format of the, I'm going to say investigative report. Is there a particular aspect of environmental impact you want to emphasize more heavily? I'm going to say no. Because I want to understand all the impact. And then this last one, would you like me to include visual elements such as maps, charts, graph? I don't really think that's necessary. So I'm going to say no for now. All right. So now Manus is off to the races. One thing I like about Manus is you can kind of track the progress of what it's doing. It'll show you like it's spinning up a computer and it's making a directory and it's kind of showing you like the search terms and stuff it's using. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. And so now we are going to go to Google Gemini. So, I think I mentioned Manus, I do not pay for. Manus, I have a free plan. When you go to use Manus, they refresh your credits. They give you 300 credits every day. That may or may not be adequate enough to do deep research. It really kind of depends on what you're doing. I have not had to pay for Manus yet, but I feel like I was an early user, so I think they gave me 2,000 credits to get started. Okay, so now we're going to go to Google Gemini. I do pay for Google Gemini, and Google Gemini is $20 a month. So I'm just going to pop that same prompt in Google Gemini, same one I did from ChatGPT and Manus. And I'm going to engage this deep research button and hit go, excuse me. So it does the same thing. It kind of reads your prompt and decides if it needs you to ask any additional questions. And so it gives you like the research plan so you can look it over to see if you need to edit it or whatever. So let's see what it's planning to do. Research the primary environmental impacts of data centers, including energy consumption, water usage, heat generation, land use, and establish a foundational understanding. Identify methodologies and data sources used to define and locate urban and rural communities in the U.S. that are already overburdened with pollution. So they're looking at high industrial emissions, poor air quality, water stress, and heat island effects. Investigate the location of existing and newly built data centers from 2023 to 25, cross-referencing these locations with the identified overburdened communities. For communities identified in number 3, gather specific data on air and water pollution levels, energy consumption attributed to the data centers, and relevant public health indicators. 5 is analyze how the siting and operation of data centers in these communities exacerbate existing environmental justice concerns, including systemic disinvestment and racial ethnic disparities. Identify and summarize specific studies. I think this plan sounds pretty solid. Let me see. Yeah, I think this sounds pretty solid. So I'm going to tell it to start researching. So let's go see what's going on with Manus. So Manus is looking at websites. And actually, if you click this, you can see what it's doing. So Manus is on some website called Data Center Knowledge, doing its research. And so you can see where it says scroll down, scroll down. So I assume that it's reading the web page. So it like shows you like the steps it's taking to conduct your research for you. Okay, so let's see what's going on over on ChatGPT. Oh, so ChatGPT is done. So this was pretty quick. This was 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Usually it takes quite a while. Sometimes it'll take, 10 or 20 minutes to get these reports. But here's our report. So let's get a quick glimpse at some of what it's saying. So it's looking at energy consumption and carbon impacts, how much power it draws, it's looking at water use, local pollution, noise and heat, what the environmental impact. So Northern Virginia I see is on here, which is not far from me. And that's interesting because I know like Amazon AWS has a data center in Northern Virginia. And I think Microsoft may too. So it looks like there's one in Bessemer, Alabama. That's where my state, where my people are from. Granbury, Texas, rural Georgia. So other communities. And when you do deep research, like I did it for all over the US because I didn't know how specific Yolanda wanted me to be. But you could target it for a specific, state. Like if you want to target the state of Tennessee, or, the state of Texas, the state of Georgia, Michigan, wherever. And you may possibly be able to do like your county or your city. I don't know how exhaustive, the research would be, but you can make it as narrow as you would like. Let me see, advocacy and accountability strategy. So talks about the different strategies that advocates are employing to help combat environmental damage. So you can see this is a pretty comprehensive report. So let's see if Manus is done. Manus is not done yet. So check on Gemini. Gemini is still working. So far, Gemini has researched 52 websites and it's still going. So while we are waiting on Manus and Gemini to do their thing, I am going to, and so once you have gotten your report, you can download this. Let me go back to the top. So you can download this. If you hit this little up arrow here, it'll give you a preview. So you can download it as a PDF. You can share the link with somebody. So I'm actually going to share this with my friend Yolanda, but I'm just going to download the PDF for now. And so as you can see here, like you can see the different, places that it has pulled the, you can see the different places that it has pulled the research from. Oops. Actually, let me just bring this over here. So yeah, it puts, at the top, it shows you this is a ChatGPT report. But this is a 9-page report that it created for us. So, and it also, inside the report, like you can click on these little references and go and read the sources that it cited. And it basically, it gives you a conclusion. So this is like a research paper. And all of the references are, cited here at the bottom of the article. So that is the ChatGPT output. So Manus is still going and Google is still going. Okay, so let's create a GPT. So a GPT is a custom, it's like your own custom version of ChatGPT. So you give it a specific task to do. So I have a few different GPTs. I think I've shared this with you guys before. I have one called Lab Test Insight. So you guys know that I'm a clinical lab scientist in my day job. So we all have had lab work at some point, and a lot of times people are just like, what does this stuff mean? Like, you just know, you go get blood drawn, you don't really know what they're, testing and evaluating. So if you were to ever like look at your lab results, say like if you have my chart or you get a printed copy of your lab results and you have questions, you could come to this GPT and you could ask it questions about your lab result. So that is one way that you could use like a custom GPT. But we are going to build a custom GPT. So if you go to my GPTs, we're going to do create a GPT. So I want this to be, I'm going to call it environmental justice advocate. If I could spell. Okay. We're going to say conducts environmental impact research. Okay, so we are going to, so this is totally not my field, but I'm gonna kind of borrow from the research that we're doing to see. Let's see. We're gonna say that you are an environmental impact researcher. So when you're creating a GPT, you want it to have like a specific purpose. So you give it a specific purpose and you tell it all the things that you want it to do. So you're an environmental impact researcher. You focus on climate change, the impact of chemicals and construction on the environment. You are, let me see, you are an expert and here you want to kind of make sure that you're using, you're being grammatically correct and checking your spelling, because this is basically how you're programming your particular GPT to respond. So you want to try to do a good job and make sure that the spelling and grammar is correct. So you are an expert in environmental justice issues for both urban and rural areas. I'm going to say in the US. You draft communication, create briefings for policy makers and lobbyists. You also provide education and updates to local community members. I think that's good. Okay. So conversation starters, let's say. So these are going to be like the little buttons that you see when you open up your GPT. So I'll say, what is the latest environmental impact news? The next one, so these are like little prompts. Help me draft a letter to a company that's causing pollution. And then the third one, what do I want to say? Help me draft briefings for my state legislator on environmental issues. All right. So, okay. So I don't have any knowledge really to give it. I'm just going to allow it to search the web. So down here you can see capabilities. So we don't need this GPT to create images. We don't really need to use Canvas. So I'm gonna disengage those. I'm gonna uncheck those boxes. And then I'm gonna leave web search checked because I want it to go out and search the internet to tell me recent news like environmental pollution news and stuff that I need to know. So what is the latest environmental impact and pollution news? Okay. All right. And so in terms of creating a new action, we don't need to do that. So I am going to click configure. Wait, no. I'm going to click create. So right now, anybody with the link can access this GPT, but I think right now I'm going to just say only me, because we're going to play with it and see how it works. Okay, so now our GPT is ready. So I'm going to click this button that says, what is the latest environmental impact and pollution news, and see what it gives us. So it should go out and search the internet. So yep, you see it searching the web. And it should be looking for things that are happening in the US. So here's an overview of the latest environmental impact and pollution developments as of late May. So it's telling us about policy rollbacks, global environmental developments, water pollution incidents, microplastics, climate and biodiversity. So seems to be working. So that's how you can build a GPT to do specific things for you. And you can give it like knowledge bases, like that's a little bit more advanced, but you can give it like a knowledge base so that it's really specific. But let's check on Manus and see how it's coming along with our report. So Manus is still going. It's been going for 20 minutes now, and it still has not wrapped up its research. So that's why I was saying it can take a while. Let's check on Google. So Google is done. How long? I don't know how long it took. It looked like it might have finished up a few minutes ago. Well, let's look and see what kind of report it gave us. So, and if you guys have any questions, drop your questions down in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions or anything that gets your attention while we're working through this. So it put this in the format of like an executive summary. The unseen burden, data centers, environmental justice, and overburdened communities in the U.S. from 2023 to 2025. Rapid proliferation of data centers across the U.S., driven significantly by the escalating demands of AI, presents a profound environmental justice challenge. These facilities, the foundational, blah, blah, blah. So you can read all through this. So the top affected communities include Northern Virginia, Mesa, Arizona, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Monroe, Louisiana. These areas exemplify how systemic disinvestment and racial and ethnic disparities render communities more vulnerable to the cumulative impacts of data center development. So then it gets into the digital footprint of data centers and the environmental impact or environmental justice. So let's see what it says. Some of the biggest environmental impacts are. So it's energy consumption and grid strain. So I'm assuming that that's the electrical grid strain. So it talks about like some of the different places that these projects are located, like the data center projects and the company that is behind them. So it's showing Amazon, Google, Meta, OpenAI. Then water usage and scarcity. It gives some information about that. And then it actually gives a table of this information So this is pretty good, right? This is deep research. This is not stuff that you would get like if you Google. If you just do a simple Google search, you're not going to get this level of research. So this is what I mean by doing deep research. Air quality and localized pollution. Here's some stuff about Memphis. While data centers are largely powered by the electrical grid, nearly all facilities maintain dozens of backup diesel and natural gas turbine generators. These generators, which can be massive, are a significant source of air pollution. They emit substantial quantities of particulate matter, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide. Additionally, on-site natural gas generation, sometimes used to get new data centers online quickly, due to grid strain, releases potent climate pollutants like methane. That is not good. Along with harmful co-pollutants such as hydrogen sulfide and volatile organic compounds, VOCs. A prominent example is Elon Musk's XAI facility in South Memphis, which is reportedly more than 30 unpermitted methane gas. Wow. And they're trying to get rid of the EPA. I guess that's not a relevant sidebar, but it is. Anyway, yeah, that's yikes. YOLO, I'm not sure if you're watching, but I'm gonna send this to you, okay, friend? Top affected communities and environmental justice concerns. The siting and operation of data centers. So it's talking about Northern Virginia, which we mentioned earlier, Mesa, Arizona, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Monroe, Louisiana, and other affected communities in Indiana, South Carolina, Abilene, Texas, and South Memphis, Tennessee. Case studies and community-led resistance efforts. So it's talking about, what people are doing to kind of fight back or monitor this. And then it talks about legislation and zoning and public hearings. So this gives you a lot of information, a lot of in-depth information. What's happening at the local, state, and federal level, corporate accountability, community organizing. So it gives you a lot of comprehensive information. So now what you can do, since we have this report, so you can export this into Google Docs. So I'm going to export this over to Google Docs, and I'm going to show you how you can add knowledge to your custom GPT, the GPT we just built. So this exported into Google Docs. So what I'm going to do is download this file, and I'm going to do just a PDF. And we're going to turn this into a knowledge source for our custom GPT. Okay, so let's check on our Manus. Okay, so our Manus is done. It took 20 minutes and 37 seconds to generate. So we can see the report now. So let me make this a little bigger. So environmental impact of data centers on overburdened communities, comprehensive investigative report. So it starts off with an executive summary. It gives us a table of contents here, environmental impact analysis, top affected areas, case studies, advocacy policy recommendations, and then its sources and references. So it tells us the most affected areas and recommendations and conclusions. Interestingly enough, this is not that in depth. But it gave me so it gave us multiple files. So it gave this like executive summary, and then it gave us the top urban areas and the top rural areas. I didn't know that. Pennsylvania County. Um, Environmental impact on water consumption, energy consumption, environmental justice concerns, air and water pollution, case examples. And then we have case studies of community resistance on data centers. So, different advocacy groups and what they're doing, people that have been successful, ongoing resistance efforts, and then legislative and policy initiatives. So, this looks pretty comprehensive. It's just broken down into multiple files. So, let's see. It'll allow you to save all the files. So we could do that if we wanted to. So that's what you get from Manus. And Manus is always giving credits, so I try to I try to get credits from them so I don't have to pay for another tool. Okay, so let's go back to ChatGPT, and we are going to modify our environmental justice advocate GPT, and we're going to add this knowledge source to it. Okay, so we're back in like our configuration panel. So I'm going to do upload files. Okay, so now my knowledge source has been uploaded. So let me see, do I want to change my instructions? I'm going to change this to say the impact of data centers. Pollution. You are an expert in environmental justice issues. Okay, so it's updating. So now we can view it again, and so I asked it to help me draft a briefing my legislator on environmental issues. So I'm going to modify this a little bit, help me draft a briefing, I should say to my state legislator on environmental issues. I live in South Memphis. So I basically just edited the prompt. And so it's pulling from that data source now, because remember our knowledge source was the impact of data centers on the environment. So it's pulling from that knowledge source to say, as a resident of South Memphis, I want to express deep concern over the escalating environmental injustices tied to the rapid expansion of data center infrastructure in our community, particularly the recent developments surrounding Elon Musk's XAI facility. Key environmental and public health concerns, air pollution and public health threats, lack of regulatory oversight, systemic disinvestment, and environmental inequity. I urge you, so here's recommendations. I urge you to support legislation requiring public disclosure, back community-led air monitoring initiatives and studies, advocate for stronger permitting regulations, and push for enforceable community benefit agreements. So this looks pretty solid. Again, this isn't my field of expertise, but I'm gonna see what Yolanda thinks about the quality, of these outputs. So we did, just to kind of wrap up, we did deep research in ChatGPT, which we got our prompt here, and we took that and put the prompt. This is our prompt here, and we put this over into ChatGPT, Manus AI, and Google Gemini, and you can kind of see you can kind of compare the three different outputs. And we also made a custom GPT. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. You can really get a lot of information, and you don't have to be super savvy about, long as you know a little bit about what you're trying to research. If you ask AI, which is my preferred tool is ChatGPT, and that's probably a bias just because I've been using it the longest. I mean, this was just a simple prompt. I need to do some research, some deep research using AI, and I want you to give me a prompt for this topic. And I just added a few things in, like act as an environmental justice researcher and subject matter expert. And I told it that I want to know about the top urban and rural areas, and I want to know how to advocate. So that's pretty simple. And so it came up with this prompt here to get oh no, I'm sorry, Jackie, you weren't able to watch it. Okay, but the replay will be up. So and it's gonna be on YouTube. So hopefully you'll be able to see it. But thank you for tuning in. um So I hope this was helpful. So let me know if you have any questions about doing deep research. If you guys have a topic and you want me to come on and do another demo, I'm happy to do that with you. If you have questions about setting up a custom GPT, I'm happy to chat with you about that too. And if not, I will see you guys later. Bye.